Go. Today we're here to share with you our knowledge of the LBD, lethal bronzing disease, which was formerly known as Texas phoenix palm disease or decline. That problem started in Florida in the Hillsborough Pinellas area. Soon thereafter, it spread to Polk, Manatee County, and is pretty much throughout the state at this time. The earliest of the seminars that were held by the University of Florida, Lloyd and I went to, and have been following it ever since and helping people learn about this disease and how to cope with it. We have some of the products and equipment necessary to carry out an effective maintenance, and it has to be thought of as a maintenance program. It's not curative, but you have to address this problem because specifically the larger phoenix palms, Dactylifera, Sylvester, Canariensis, and that includes all of the Dactyliferas, Medules, Zaetes, Daglett Noor, and any of the other varieties that might be out there. Phoenix reclinata, Ruplicola, and some of the, even the smaller species like Robellini can be on the hit list. That's a relatively infrequent happening, so it's not of major concern. Queen palms, mule palms, even Bismarcks, I think, are on the hit list.
Occasional.
And, yeah, but that's pretty incidental. Doesn't happen a lot. And way up at the top of the list is the Florida cabbage or sable. So these are it's a disease that is widespread throughout most, if not all, of Florida. And if it isn't in your neighborhood, you're either lucky or just don't have many of the trees that are susceptible. It is transmitted by a vector from tree to tree. It is a three-part process involving vector, pathogen, and host. Lloyd is going to show us how to properly execute the inoculation process, and maybe you want to spend a couple of minutes. You want to talk about some of the materials and expenses that are associated with those?
Yeah, this is a preventable disease, so there is a solution for the problem. Oxytetracycline, which is available from a few different companies. The one we're going to be talking about today is from Palm Tree Saver. It's been around since lethal yellowing was a problem in South Florida. Basically, depending on the rate which you use, and we'll talk about rates of application later. If you start with a maintenance level rate, you're basically looking at a 4 times a year application, totaling anywhere between a little over $9 and about $11.60 to maintain your palms and prevent this disease from killing them.
That's a range in price based on the size of the tree?
Based on the application rate.
Okay.
There are maintenance levels, and there are higher levels that will be used for trees that are in hot spots where the disease is very present.
Particularly that first application where you're trying to really ensure that the tree doesn't contract the disease.
Right. Also, you'll see that it's easy to do. So basically anybody can do it if they have these basic tools. No special license is required to do it. You don't need a pesticide license or anything like that. But it does have to be a preventative program. It's nearly impossible, if not impossible, to start this after the tree shows symptoms and save the tree.
Yeah, it's pretty much the horses out of the barn at that point. And like any new threat or process that we deal with, it can seem a little threatening or intimidating to begin with, but believe me, even I can do this. And so this process is quite simple. It can be carried out, as Lloyd said, by a person who does not have to carry a pesticides license. So it really is an issue of just simply doing it. It's not complicated. It's thought to be 100% effective if properly carried out. So the matter is pretty much in the hands of the people who are responsible for maintaining the trees. More thoughts?
That's it. We're going to talk about how to mix the OTC product. This is the Palm Tree Saver OTC here, which is just a yellow powder that gets mixed with water. The actual mixing process is very easy. What is a little bit confusing is the injection rates that are necessary. We're going to be talking about strictly the injection rates for date palms. Other susceptible palms, the rates would be less. The injection rate is based on the diameter of the trunk. So specifically, these mix rates and use rates are going to be for date palms. The rate for date palms is between 5 and 6.5 cc's. The syringe basically will tell you, there's a scale here. That is how you'll gauge how much material you're putting into the tree after it's mixed. So these cups come with the product. These cups, this is 90 cc's, and this is the small scoop they call it, which is 5 cc's. If you're doing one tree or just a few trees, you're going to want to mix up what is called a single dose, which is basically one of these small scoops full of the powder, and then you'll need to use this syringe to measure your water, which one dose is one small scoop of the powder and 3 cc's of distilled water, and then you mix that up. That will actually yield 4.5 cc's of volume, which is not enough to do one date palm. That's where the confusion lies in the directions you get from OTC. The rates, the way that it is mixed, the quantity of powder versus the quantity of water never changes. So it's always 1 scoop of this to 3 cc's of water. And then you basically just have to calculate, and we're gonna develop a chart to make it easy to know how many scoops you put in based on how many trees you're injecting at the rate that they're being injected. The way that it becomes easier and more straightforward is if you're doing a larger quantity of trees. 1 full bottle of powder mixed with this cup of 90 cc's of water will do, at the 6.5 cc rate, will do about 20 trees. If you go at a higher rate, and we'll talk about the higher rate, basically doing a double dose, you're going to get about 15 trees with 1 full bottle. But it's much easier if you take a full bottle of the powder and you're simply adding this cup full, which is 90 cc's of water, pour it in there and shake it up. And then they sell, Palm Tree Saver sells this refillable syringe, which basically you just put this cap, screw that cap on there, the tube goes down in the bottle, and you calibrate this so that it pulls up the volume that you need. When you squeeze the trigger and inject the tree, when you release it back, it automatically pulls your next dose, your measured dose, back up in here. There's no mess, and it makes it much easier. So the syringe that you use and the amount of material that you mix is based on how many trees you're doing and the rate at which you're injecting those trees. The double dose rate is going to be necessary when you're injecting trees in an area where there are trees actively dying. And that's going to be about 10 cc's, 9 to 10 cc's of product. And that's you're going to want to do that for at least the first 2 injections, if not the first full year. And then if symptoms subside and you don't see any more trees dying in the area, then you can go back to more of a maintenance rate.
We're out here in the field and we're going to demonstrate now how to actually do the injection. I've already got my product mixed up here. It's a good idea when you're injecting this stuff to just kind of keep shaking the bottle to make sure all that has gotten into solution. So the first step in doing the injection, you're going to want to make sure that your drill bit is clean. So if you're doing multiple trees, you may have some old shavings on here from the last hole that you drilled. We use a scrub brush. You can just start the drill and try to remove any of those old shavings first. And we have a little butane torch here where we're going to heat up this drill bit to try to kill any pathogens that might be on the drill bit. Again, if you're doing multiple trees, if we injected this tree, we would want to clean the drill bit in between trees so that we didn't carry those pathogens, and that's the reason for the flame. You don't need to get it too hot, just hot enough to kill that stuff. So we're going to be drilling a hole to place our valve in the trunk. So you kind of just want to scope out the trunk here, and it's important where you place this valve and drill your hole. You do not want to put it in an old petiole base. This is dead material. Drilling your hole there won't get your all your material actually into the tree. What you're going to want to look for are spots in between the old petiole bases, such as here. That would be a good spot there, maybe there. This is a little bit higher on the tree than we would like to see. We generally try to keep it low here. It's less visible, and eventually some of these aerial roots may cover up our injection site. This particular tree, we're doing our first injection on it. So we're going to have a fresh hole and a fresh valve. Next time, we could reuse that same hole and this same valve. So on this tree, we're going to leave this valve sticking out maybe about 1/4 of an inch, so that next time we come and reuse the same hole and the same valve, we can simply take a pair of pliers, pull it out. We'll re-drill the hole about 1/2 inch or 3/4 an inch deeper, and then we can take this valve and pound it all the way in. That would be the second injection. You can reuse the same hole and valve twice. So we're going to go ahead and drill our hole here. On date palms, the depth of the hole should be 4.5 inches, and this is a 9/32 drill bit. So you want to pick the right diameter drill bit for the valve that you're using. So 9/32 hole, 4.5 inches deep. Normally we mark the drill bit here. This one isn't marked, but I know that it's right about there. When you drill your hole, you want to drill it at a slightly downward angle. Nothing too dramatic, just a slight downward angle such as that. We'll go ahead and make our hole here. You don't want to wobble the drill bit when you're making your hole, because your valve won't seat in there tightly and some of the material can leak out. But you do want to put your drill bit in and out just a few times to get most of those shavings out of there. The shavings just take up space in the hole where it'll make it harder for your volume, your OTC to go in there. We're going to go ahead and push the valve in. We use a little punch with a hammer to tap it in. And again, we're going to leave just a little bit out so we can pull this out next time and reuse the hole in the valve. Just like that. As I said, we've already got our material mixed up here. We're going to use this refilling syringe. This particular syringe only holds a total volume of 5 cc's. We're going to be doing a double dose on this tree, which is 9 cc's. So we've calibrated this for 4.5, and we're going to squeeze it twice to put a total of 9 cc's in. So we'll just insert our needle here in the little green rubber membrane there. Put it like that, and then we're going to squeeze it in. When we release, it's going to pull 4.5 cc's back in, and then we're going to put the rest of it in. And then pull it out. You'll see a little, it'll kind of pop because it's under back pressure, and then it'll seal itself off. That is all there is to the injections. This is the only way to keep the phytoplasma, the disease, from progressing in the tree. There are some products that will control the vector, the bug that feeds on the tree. That injection can be done in the same fashion, same hole, same valve. Don't know quite how effective that is. That will be kind of another step that you could take if you chose to.